Today, in the media conference with Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic, and today's topic is not only current but very relevant with the present time. And the topic is the power of networking. And I would like to inform you that today's program is co-sponsored, or you can say in association with Indo-Gulf Management Association. But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that today the world is observing International Day for preventing the exploitation of the environment in war and armed conflict. The United Nations General Assembly declared 6th November of each year as the International Day for preventing the exploitation of the environment in war and armed conflict. Though humanity has always counted its war casualties in terms of dead and wounded soldiers and civilians, destroyed cities and livelihoods, the environment has often remained the unpublicized victim of war. Water wells have been polluted, crops torched, forests cut down, soils poisoned, and animals killed to gain military advantages. Furthermore, the United Nations Environment Program UNEP has found that over the last 60 years, at least 40% of all internal conflicts have been linked to the exploitation of natural resources, whether high-value resources such as timber, diamonds, gold, and oil, or scarce resources such as fertile land and water. Conflicts involving natural resources have also been found to be twice as likely to relapse. The United Nations attaches great importance to ensuring that action on the environment is part of conflict prevention, peacekeeping, and peace building strategies, because there can be no durable peace if the natural resources that sustain livelihood and ecosystems are destroyed. Media conference with Goel wishes that firstly that no war should take place, but in case of war or armed conflict, no exploitation of the environment should be there. Now, coming to the main topic, the power of networking. Networking is the exchange of information and ideas among people with a common profession or special interest, usually in an informal social setting. Networking often begins with a single point of common ground. Professionals use networking to expand their circles of acquaintances, find out about job opportunities in their fields, and increase their awareness of news and trends in their field or the greater world. People generally join networking groups based on a single common point of interest that all members share. The most obvious is a professional affiliation. For professionals, the best networking opportunities may occur at trade shows, seminars, and conferences designed to attract a large crowd of like-minded individuals. Networking helps a professional keep up with current events in the field and develops relationships that may boost future business or employment prospects. Needless to say, it also provides opportunities to help other people find jobs, make connections, and catch up on the news. So, to discuss today's very, very important topic, and in the light of this digital era, the importance of networking has increased drastically. So, to discuss the power of networking, we have a very elite, knowledgeable, those who are authority in the, I must say, the experience in the networking. Panelists are with us, and I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Mr. Vishal Gandhi. Mr. Vishal Gandhi is the founder and CEO of Biorex Venture Advisors, Noida. Mr. Vishal has over 20 years of experience in strategic advisory for mergers and acquisitions, India entry and due diligence process exclusively for healthcare and agri sector. He is among the top 20 dedicated healthcare investment bankers in the country. Presently, he is also pursuing his doctoral thesis and presents his seminar work in international conferences and seminars. Welcome, Mr. Vishal Gandhi, on our show. Mr. Vishal Gandhi, as you know, the networking, the importance and the power of networking. And we have seen and we are seeing, and even as your profile says, that you are basically a person who is doing the networking from the investors and putting bringing the money, doing their due diligence and putting, and especially for the health sector and agriculture sector, which are the prime sectors, I must say, for the economy of India. So we would like to know your views for the power of networking. Mr. Vishal Gandhi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, and thank you, Professor Mohan, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share the DS with one wonderful, personalities. I have not known them, but I am sure they are like amazing people, and I'm humbled to be sharing DS with them. So thank you very much for the opportunity once again. So I think the topic networking, and to me, like I'll speak more into terms of business networking because that's been a domain that I have been working on. And I think that's a part and participle of my job profile, as a CEO of a company which is running, deals in terms of investment banking deals and merger acquisition deals, and of course, strategic advisory deal. So basically, I feel that there is no business without networking today. And I feel that in finance world, there is something called net worth. So networking is our net worth. The network will always be with us. However we may lose money because that's a material possession, but I think the networking is an intangible possession that we have, and it really helps us to conduct business the way we would like to do it, in terms of ushering to the new era of scaling up businesses. Because I think scaling up businesses, sustaining businesses, and I think it requires networking. And I think the topic is so wonderful that you've selected today. And so for me, I can say that networking is the pillar. Because as a person, from a career perspective, I don't think if I would not have networked, I would have reached where I am. So let me give you a background of where I come from. So I did my master's in biotech, hardcore a biotech guy, and now have been involved in financing. So the idea was that look at the domain first, and then I started networking with people outside India, and I ended up meeting a couple of very good people from the US and UK who were actually doing business finance in and having a degree of biotech. And that actually was the first proof that how networking can actually open a path for your wonderful career opportunity. So I came back and I looked for a course that, okay, what is the best course I can go for? And I did my MBA after coming back from UK, and landed up actually in a very good organization. At that time, this was one of the youngest bank, and I worked with them for about 5-6 years. Because of networking, I was able to excel. And I think networking also gives you an exposure to do better in your work profile, look at the other point of view, which is very important. And also at the same time, how you can keep developing yourself. I think one of the main power of networking, what I have seen, is to actually keep yourself young and alive, because you're learning all the time. And I feel I feel very young even at 45 as opposed to when I was 20, because there's so much so much to do with networking. And of course digital marketing, and of course the pandemic has also rebooted a lot of business models, and it gave us an opportunity to see that how we can all be involved yet in the social media. And I think there are very good number of apps which has really helped me personally to be more visible among the stakeholders that I would like to be visible amongst them. And Professor Mohan, my acquaintance with him is only about a year, and I think knowing him is also nothing but a manifestation of doing networking. So he got introduced to me, and I got introduced to him through my common research guide, and who's his good friend. And I just finished my PhD in strategy and technology management. And so Dr. Asif, is a very good friend of Dr. Mohan, and that's how I got to know. So I think this is the site of a cyclic effect. This is the amplification effect that I can share from my own journey, with this context. So coming to, how do you do networking? I think it's important to really, really introduce yourself, and then of course, wait for the other person to respond, and possibly, there may be actually very keen to hear more about it, so I think that's one thing that I like to share. Then of course there are times, when you go for a place, when you go for a networking, you think that you will be sitting with the same kind of people. If you know people and you're sitting with same kind of people, it doesn't really expand your network. So I think it's very important that you sit with people you don't know and try to communicate with them, because that is how you will grow your network, right? And more network means more business opportunity, and more business opportunity means more horizons will open for you. And of course it's very important. I have seen a lot of people just try to network, give around the same people, and it doesn't really give you a delta what generally one looks for, right? And it's also very important to know who you know than what you know. So I think it's very important these days, as I said, that network is your net worth. So it's important to continue increasing your net worth. And that's how you will be able to become a person, that you can excel in your profile, especially profile, if we are in any field today, whether in the business management to teaching to any profile, I think you need to network. And I think to me, the inspiration comes from Professor Mohan Agarwal. I have known him only for a year, but look at the network. He's unstoppable. Like I have been, of course, attending some of his, seminars and webinars that he's organizing. And every time he brings so wonderful people, you learn so much from each one of them. And I think he's an epitome of networking, I would say, Although as a professor, I have not seen many professors doing wonderful networking. And I think he's a very unique person. He has a blend of, I think industry knowledge and industry networking, and of course academics also. I know because I've not had an opportunity to learn from him in the academics field, but I know he's been an amazing professor. So it's very important, and I think I must like to learn from his digital marketing strategy. I think his digital marketing strategy is amazing. Even if you want to miss what he's doing, you cannot afford to miss what he's doing, whether it's about WhatsApp groups, whether it's about anything in digital. I think it's an amazing thing, sir. Thank you so much for, making us learn through a very interactive and a very practical way and seeing the tangible results. And I think when he approached to me about this event, I readily agreed, although I know there's some festival at home, but I thought, no, I must not miss this opportunity, because this is like, a great opportunity for me to pay my debt of gratitude to Professor Mohan Agarwal. And, of course, it's very important that whichever event you go for, because these digital events are also happening. There's a networking lounge and all that. Last 1.5 years, I have not gone and attended any any event per se in any of the, physical world. But nothing has stopped me, to network. As long as the portals are giving you an opportunity to network, you're able to network. Rather, I'm able to network more. I'm able to actually look at more people, because I can see their profile. I can actually do the background work, and that's how my business has actually expanded. During pandemic, I must say. And I also want to share, with you that it's very difficult to close a deal like an M&A deal or an equity deal of investment for startup, which I advise. But I was able to do that even online. In fact, the shareholder agreement, share purchase agreement, everything happened online, and the investors came from Singapore, Malaysia, and these are the first time investors who actually got to know me. And everything happened online, and this got into the release yesterday. So again, it's a power of networking. I was a jury to one of the startup quiz, and that guy came to me saying, sir, we would like you to raise capital. I had no exposure to edtech, as Mr. Goel anyway has mentioned that my expertise is around healthcare and agri-tech. But I took challenge. I said, okay, healthcare and education looks very similar in terms of their behavior. And I took a challenge, and I was able to do well even in that deal, So what I see that, every event we go, one has to plan very carefully. And more importantly, in the online events, one has to really plan. And I actually enrolled for a program last week at Columbia Business School. And the topic was, value investing in healthcare. And one of the key motive, when a professor called me, he says, why do you want to join this program? I told him I want to do networking, and you wouldn't believe I had such a golden opportunity to meet people in the era, I would not have possibly met, got a chance to learn from their lifetime experiences. It's all power of the networking, because the person who sent me this invite, he's a visiting professor in IIT Delhi, and he was there in my, you can say, contact list, and he contacted me and this that, and he gave me a decent discount. Again, it's a power of networking that you actually can make a decent discount in your program, because continuous learning is an integral part of one's business profile. So I think more you network, the better you become as a business professional. And I think you can actually become a business manager better, and that's how you'll be able to guide other people, in your team. So it's like, don't wait for somebody else to take a step. Actually, you should be the one who should be taking the first step. And I think it's very important, don't stay in your comfort zone, because if you are in your comfort zone, there is no networking, there is no growth. It's only, rather I would say, regression. Actually, it's a path to regression, because if you are not talking to people who matters to you, I think that's actually no growth, and no growth means a regression. And it's always important to give first, like rather than seeking. It's important that you should give to your network the first, and of course at right time, you should also be able to monetize on that. It's very important that be very curious about the mutual benefits, because relationship is win-win, and I'm sure professor all the other professors will talk about this win-win relationship aspect. But I think today, sometimes, relationships are very difficult to sustain when there is win-lose. It's very important to always think that what can I give the other person, it could be a very small thing, it could be a big thing, but it's very important that, it has to be like a win-win proposition. And do your homework before you meet that person, that what could excite him, and it's very important, because the moment you get to know what could excite him, I think your chances of bridging a bond with that person, I think is much higher. And of course, very, very important that don't ever lose a focus why you are here in the network. I think it's very important to keep focus, and of course have a conversation balance. While Mr. Goel has been very kind enough to give me 10 minutes to talk or 15 minutes to talk, but I think I need to be having a conversation balance. So maybe in another 2 minutes, I like to pause and listen to the wonderful experienced people, and I can learn from them and implement that in my lifetime, and report that how your teachings actually has helped me to grow further. So I think that will be the victory of today's session to me. And very important, that we should not be afraid of asking, even if I'm a CEO of a company, but I may not know everything. So it's very important that we should not be afraid to ask for what you want, because sometimes, without asking, you don't get anything, right? It's important to ask, and of course find a common ground and engage them in that space. It's very important to, when you're networking with somebody, then understand his taste, understand his profile, and then engage in a conversation that really leads you to a common ground. And I think that's how you're able to maintain and grow the relationship. And very important that one should lead with achieved results rather than future aspiration. So I think it's very important to be satisfied, and rather than always looking for future, because we don't know how the future is going to unfold. But I think one should be really also very happy with what your network is today, while you have to grow the network. But I think at the same time, it's important that have a balanced approach towards what relationships you have today versus what kind of relationship you want to also build in the future. And I think to me, social media strategy is very important. And I think you have to have a very powerful social media profile. And this is something which I'll love to learn from Professor Mohan Agarwal, that how to actually, create a social profile that can kind of give a good impact. And it also bolsters your networking. So I think these are my initial thought, Mr. Goel. And I wouldn't like to be between you and the other wonderful speakers that I will have an opportunity to listen to. And of course, your opening comments on sustainable development goals were very amazing, and I think sustainability will only come when we have a dialogue with people we don't know. And I think that is the power of networking, because when you have a dialogue with people and you sustain business, and sustaining business means actually adopting sustainable development goals. So with that note, I hand it over back to you, Mr. Goel, and thank you once again for the opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vishal Gandhi, for giving your views. Very powerful views. Networking is net worth, and Mr. Gandhi has explained his own, given all experiences, how he, through the networking, he has reached in a field which, although he has done the graduation in that field, but is still a new field about the M&A, as well as for the startups, etc. And this is the power of the networking. But before, because Mr. Gandhi has to leave, as all the viewers, you might be knowing, today the India is celebrating Bhai Dooj. So there is a occasion, everyone, but he's kind enough to give his time. So before he will leave, I would like to just ask one question. As you mentioned, the power of the networking, but there is a flip side also. You are mentioning the power of from the management side, but think of the employee side. If the employee, and you said that the networking has to be with some unknown person, then it is more advantageful. But sometimes it is disadvantageful if your networking is with the wrong person, with your competitor company. I am talking of somebody, not the top person, the persons who are working there, and they will share either innocently, not knowingly, or intensely the information which are not supposed to be shared. And because of the digital networking, earlier people were not having that much, and one can keep an eye to what is happening and what is not happening. But now it is very, very difficult. It's become a very big security risk. So what you would like to say, how that challenge has to be tackled when there is a security risk because of the networking, and the person is not knowing that what information he is giving is going to harm his own company. Mr. Vishal Gandhi, please.
Sir, first of all, thank you for such a wonderful question. And I will try to attempt to answer because I don't think I'm really going to have a great answer for this, but I'll try and attempt it. Okay. So basically, I think in business schools, and Professor Mohan Agarwal knows this better than anybody else, is about business ethics. So you need to invest and you need to hire people who adopt business ethics. Because at the end of the day, a professional does not become professional because he adopts these shortcuts, because the moment you adopt to these shortcuts, anyway people will get to know, right? So as I said, your net worth is actually your network, and how many people in your network talk good about you, right? Because today, if you look at a concept of referral marketing, you look at the concept of companies giving you business, and of course the company is giving you a referral business also because you've done a wonderful job for them and they feel that somebody else can take advantage of that your services. So to me, I think one has to adopt business ethics, and definitely there are ways to find out, there are technologies to find out how such private informations are getting leaked in the network. And but I think that itself is a very tricky topic and it would require a lot of discussion. But a wonderful question, sir, and I will certainly do my homework when you have a next theme on this particular topic, because I think it's a very relevant thing in today's context, and more particularly when we are all working from home. Because earlier when you're in the office, you're under the scanner, right? There is a CCTV and everything happening. But today when you're working from home, you have no clue, and you can't also have systems which actually do not allow you to exchange, because the moment you do that, it also puts a pressure in the employee's mind that boss, they don't trust me. And the trust is something, is a basic starting to actually build a relationship with your own employees. I think building a relationship with your own employees is far more important than actually building a relationship with clients, because they are the face of your company, and if you don't have a relationship and they don't know how to represent your company well, I think you cannot sustain. And I think what it is to sustain a business, because you spoke about it, right? So I hope, sir, I was able to satisfy you by giving like you may give me 33% marks so that I have passed, and maybe next time I can do a better job.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gandhi. But yes, you are very not only successful, but you have given a very correct point that about the ethics. And if ethics is not there and the trust is not there, no business can survive. But yes, this is a very big challenge which companies are facing because of the work from home, and so many people are coming, joining contacts without knowing. And many times it was found that even the employee who has leaked the information, he or she is not involved. They are not knowing what they are doing is going to harm. But thank you very much. And I would not like to now hold you because this is a very auspicious occasion. So please go ahead. All the best wishes. Thank you very much, Mr. Vishal Gandhi, for joining us. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Dr. Ratan Sharma. Dr. Ratan Sharma is the Professor Emeritus and former Principal Director of Delhi School of Business, New Delhi. Dr. Sharma is European Foundation of Management Development Fellow to Manchester Business School, UK, and alumnus of SRCC and Delhi School of Economics. He has worked in some of the prestigious institutes like IIM Lucknow, MDI Gurugram, ASCI Hyderabad, SP Jain Mumbai, among many others. He is also former president of AIMS, an association of around 800 business schools in India. Welcome, Dr. Ratan Sharma, on our show. Dr. Sharma, you have heard what Mr. Vishal Gandhi has spoken. And he said that because of the networking, he could reach on the level which he is enjoying today. And he has, although he has given the credit to our Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal for many things. And he rightly said, although I have not mentioned because he was short of time, but he rightly says, because we know that every week when Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal is joining our media conference, it's not easy to bring new panelists of repute. He is bringing the panelists who have full knowledge of the topic, those who have the ability, those who are well qualified and authority. So this is the power of the network, no problem, no doubt about it. And I cannot criticize this because I am also doing the same work. Every day to organize a media conference with different panelists is not an easy thing, but because of the networking, it is possible. So now we would like to know, because you are such a very well educated and very well connected, and you have done so much work in so much prestigious institutes, as well as you were the former president of AIMS, which is very prestigious institutions with 800 business schools associated. Definitely your networking is too high, because 800 business schools, their chairmen and the deans and whatnot. But we would like to know from you the power of networking. Dr. Ratan Sharma, please.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Goel. I think it's really nice to be with you. And thanks, Dr. ML Agrawal, to have me over here. In fact, what he said, Vishal Gandhi, and also I think what you said, it, Dr. Goel, Dr. Agrawal is the person, is a good persuader. And in sometimes we say he's a good connector, which is a networker. And this is very, very important. And thanks to you. And thanks. Also, it's a pleasure to be sharing with some of those very prestigious and wonderful people, sharing the thoughts, Georgia and all, Vishal Gandhi, and I'm sure Dr. Paul was here. I think what you said is a very interesting thing which has happened, Dr. Goel. I must first of all congratulate a very interesting topic, very important topic you have chosen for this. And as I've said already, that network is net worth. And this is very, very important. By chance, I happen to be a student of finance and accounting, and I understand what is net worth. Net worth can be positive and net worth can also be negative. And that's what I think, Dr. Lyle, you mentioned. In fact, we'll come to that stage little later, but I think this is the power of the networking which really counts. I think to say this is a very obvious part. I don't think I should be elaborating on it. Yeah, but there is a lot of work which has been done more from the research point of view and also from the practice point of view. Practice, Vishal Gandhi mentioned, and I'm sure we all practice in terms of doing the networking. But I think there's a lot of framework which have been developed for networking. I must say that networking is a very serious type of a business. It's not merely that you only talk about it. It's something which is a little more serious. You attend the seminars, you collect business cards. Now, this is not merely this is not really networking alone. I think there's a lot which go for it. I myself, when I have been heading different institutes, being in this process of really getting into networking, we founded an institute called Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan's Usha Lakshmi Mittal Institute of Management. And interesting part, I'll take a minute only to share. I was only given a building, in fact, that we should start this. I was in SP Jain, Bombay, and then I came over to this place. And I was to get, in fact, all that what we refers to at the whole regulatory approvals and furniture and everything and students and everything, we were to get it. It was a sheer networking that we could really get into that part of the thing. We could really run that much faster. I stayed there for around 8 years or so. And I think this was one of the very interesting, very rich experience that I had to start a startup. And that too in the education field where there's a lot of competition which was coming. Networking has come, in fact, handy in my case. When I really, because as a professor, I always feel it that when we discuss a topic, we should also be something where the people can really, it cannot be teachable. It should be, people should try to take something out of it. Not merely the anecdotes we should try to relate, which I think we all are doing it. Can we develop a framework of it? And by chance, I happened to read quite a number of articles and the books relating to this, which I thought it maybe have some relevance and which we adopted probably in our context of networking that I was doing, in fact, in different situations and different contexts, whether it was as MTP chairman, bringing business really to the institute, or else developing a business itself for the institute, or else for the PGD program, which we were doing it, and or maybe the consultancy work that we were doing apart it. Interesting thing is that networking, as I mentioned it, to me, it seems is not merely, it is an art and science, both. Art, because we are very simple that not many people are good at it, but they can learn it. Surely they can learn. That part is there. I was not very good at, in fact, networking initially, but I learned when I was in a situation where really something has to be done. I thought, I must do it. I started learning it. It was practicing networking. Many mistakes we committed. In fact, I was very enthusiastic to meet people, exchanging cards, but exchanging cards was not enough. I realized it. Ultimately, you have to follow it up because I had a large number of that bunch of cards, but it was meant nothing. You really needed that part. So what I did was that we should try really to divide our task into certain things where networking is required. So first of all, I tried to convince myself. I was used to feel it, I'm an introvert. I don't want to get into that part. No, not at all. I think you need to, first of all, be out of this, thinking. You're changing the mindset that yes, anybody can do it, everybody can do it. So first part is you realize that networking is essential. You must do it if you want to be successful, whether in the individual life or in the life of the business we are setting in, you have to do networking. This was the first realization which I had. Second thing which I did it, then I should pursue it. Sorry. Getting cards collected, is it enough? No, it was not. I need to choose which type of people I should have it. For that, I needed to have a goal, what I should have. For example, if my task is to build an institute, I should try to have what sort of people in my networking situation. So I try to have it. We have to have a large number of people. I can't have a crowd. I need to have a select group of people which should be there in my network situation. So broadly, we can try to divide, and probably when we are getting into it is, number one, our networking has to be number one, operational purposes. If you are starting it, operations. Well, I'm doing the task. For example, I'm a teacher. Then everything to do with the teacher, I think I should be having in connection with those people, those who are connected with my subject, maybe interrelated subject. Because ultimately, in a student of management does not mean functional area specialist. It means a business. It means interfunctional, the approach which we have to have it. It means multidisciplinary approach. First part, therefore, is operational wherever you are. So as a manager, if, for example, I happen to be a director, then naturally as a director, I need to have, those operational things to be conducted. I had to have IT people. I didn't know much about IT. Let me tell you a very interesting part. I didn't know, but I wanted only that, yes, there should be without cable, the network should function. I only knew this much. I collected people. I said, look here, you have to do it. And they did it. It's a long time. It came in India at that stage. And I think we become very successful. So you have to then have people of certain type when you have a certain goal clarity. So operational was one part within the organization, which is very crucial. Second thing is your own personal development also many times. And you want to be really there. And personally that, for example, you may go wrong many times, you take a decision. So what we do is we try really to have the personal, some network where you can really share, your thoughts, your views, your values. And then you try to get into that part. So I tried during that process to have my personal group also, and which was relating to my own personal development, in not only functional, but also business related personal development. And third thing was that business has to grow. In any way, institute has to grow. So you need really to have that part too. So the point I'm making is I tried really to have that situation in mind when so it was the operational part, wherein it is in the context of the organization, what we look for it. And being an academic, therefore, I have really to be concerned with those people, also people, those who are connected with it for my personal growth, and also with the strategic part also, so that we can grow. So that if suppose we are not able to do a certain thing as of now on the priority basis, then we can get on the MDPs at consultancy and those things, so that after a few years down the line, we can get into that part. So I think when we say, very simple, that power of networking, then who should be in your network? That's very important. And this will be decided by what is your goal to have a network. And once you say that this is your network, then how you try to see for which purpose you want to have your networking. And that is what maybe any other, I mean, this is only one classification. One can always have one's own classification, ready to go for it. One can try to see as to how things really work it out and things are done. So those things are very important, which I try to adopt unknowingly by chance. I'm only now, when you gave me a topic, I started thinking what was that I was doing it, Dr. Agarwal. Before that, I never gave a thought to it, what I was doing it. I was saying, yes, I'm meeting people. Yeah, I was meeting people, but for what? What was for, I require teachers really to teach. So operational purposes, you require certain kind of teachers, because it is a new institution. You want teacher, don't want to train them. You want ready teachers, those who can go to the class and start teaching, So those type of things, you start looking at it. Your personal things also, you also started thinking in the strategic sense of the term. So networking is power, certainly, but power has to be systematically gained. You cannot have it a crowd of people with whom you want to network. And some of the misconceptions, I was mentioning it, and which I had it, frankly. I mean, I'm sharing with my own experience. Go to events. I was director. I used to attend all the events happening in Delhi. Why? Simple. What is the trend in the industry? What the industry is thinking? I didn't get approval at that time, but I was still attending, thinking that which courses we can offer, because it was an autonomous sort of institution, AICTE approved. Then how really we should try to offer courses, which courses? So at least in the conference, I used to sit at the back benches, listen to what is happening, what industry people are feeling about it. That is where I came down to rural marketing, things we should go for it. I started talking about the corporate governance way back, not now, way back, something around 2007 or something. We used to have a program on this. I started a program for the students called Bottom of the Pyramid Projects, where the students should go to the the rural site, work with NGOs, work with the rural environment. Because these people, those who are from the urban background, they want to know as to what is happening. And I knew it. And this is what industry, again, conferences told me, that market lies in the rural side, even for MNCs or FMCGs, for anybody for it. We should go for it. Again, through the conferences, I came to know that, look here, China is a big economy. Why don't we try to tap it? So I offered a course on China, really a very comprehensive course, which was first offered, of course, inaugurated by the ambassador of China. And then we started having this language also, Madrid language. Whole economy about the China, not in the traditional sense of the term, but in the management jargon. What is HR policies? What are the financial institutions? How the production system in the China works. So I try to mold that situation in our context. And believe you me, after some time, again, it's all networking. I didn't know anybody. I only tried to learn it. It was strategic, in fact. Very simple. Is a growth and development which was being taken place, which was really happening in that case of networking. And once it was done, then its results have been very phenomenal. Company used to say, look here, we have a institution where large number of students, they are learning Mandarin. They have an exposure to Chinese economy. This was one part. And there was, I knew that FMCGs may not come to recruit, but after 2 years, our students can go to them. So with the rural BOPP projects, which I got into, it was something another which was happening, again through the networking. Because who will give the project about, NGOs, about the rural marketing? Again, it was a simple networking, operational, personal, Strategic is what I was looking for. And I just went that we should try really to get into this part of it. So my submission is very simple. Therefore. It's a simple, it is an art. People have to follow it. And art is subjective. Everybody has a style to interact with, right? But it is also in a way science, it's a discipline. Why don't we try really to help people to learn the art of networking? And once we try to, and there's a lot of work which has been done, in fact, a lot of research work which has been done, a lot of really books and the articles which have come. For example, I'm sure everybody must have heard that Malcolm Gladwell, The Tipping Point. I think if you read it, everybody should read this. In fact, I suggest everybody should read it. You understand how really the small little things really help you to grow in a big way. And that's what helps you developing, multiplying your network capability, and which is very, very crucial from that point of view. So having said it, I must say that networking is a very, very powerful tool. I must sum up by saying a few things which are very crucial. Number one, have a not only desire, convinced about networking is important. Don't say, I'm not meant for it. No, I used to feel, I know I'm meant for it. If in the business you are meant for it, you have to do it. It is not a luxury that you only, Dr. Goel, Dr. Agarwal will do it. No, not at all. It is a necessity. If you don't do it, you perish. Simple as that. Therefore, very important is you must be convinced that networking is to be done in any way. Have a clarity of thought. Don't meet people for the heck of it. There's nothing at all. You should be meeting people with your objective to continue. And then normally what happens? What has been my thinking? Simple. If a person has got the views of my type, or values of my type, I used to be networking with them. Not that I was not working, but it's a small group of people with whom I was working, because it was a simple self-similarity sort of a thing. He is with me, is similar views, so nice. Okay? But then it didn't give me any diversity at all. We were of the people of the same type. It didn't give us any growth or development. Or through the proximity. If I'm in Delhi, then I will try to only with the people, those who are from Shriram College or from Delhi School of Economics. So what? Why not from other universities? Why not from other places? Sorry. And EFMD and other places where I visited later on to them, it provided me an opportunity. No, let's talk to people, others also. They are so nice. They are so professionally so rich. We should try to learn from them, their customs, their practices. And why don't we adopt? And I think best way always is that you try to share the activities, and which I later on adopted. I'm also in the process of building institution. Why don't you also help me, or you tell me as to what are the regulatory problems which is happening? Do you know somebody? And that's what. And which said already, I agree that it is a value addition which matters. People are going to be with you only and only when you add value to them. If you don't add value to them, I don't think this sort of a relationship will continue for a long time. So add value and think for others. Don't think what you will get it. You have to really think for others. If you give it, you will be given. If you don't give it, nobody is going to give you. And you have to take the first step. You have to take the first step. For example, Dr. Agarwal, I must say that for Mr. Gandhi, he is a great persuader. He is a great connector. And that's what that Malcolm said, that there are people, those who have the law of a few. Only few people can do it, not others. Not others can do it. Only few can do it. And he is one of them. He does. He is a good connector. He is a good, that we say, super connector. Same way Dr. Lal is now trying with the Lal Goel, that conference. He is also trying to connect with people. But that comes from the framework. Once it comes in the framework, then there are people, those who only listen, process information. And that is also required. I think they listen to me, process information, pass it on to somebody else. And there are people who persuade too. So I think if we do the networking systematically, I think the results are bound to be multifold. And then it's become really a powerful way to have the fruits from the networking. Otherwise, networking leads to wastage of time. And as Dr. Lal mentioned it, many times it has very dangerous consequences also. You started spending a lot of time in networking, but what is the use when you require something to be done? You don't have type of people which you're looking for, because the way you started, I think that was something which was on the faulty lines. Direction was wrong. So you need to be very clear. What for networking? Meeting people, socializing, it's okay. I think it's a human tendency. Man is a social animal, fair enough. It's okay with us. But social for what? And that is what is crucial for every one of us. With these initial thoughts, I think I'll now like to listen from others, and from my side is all right, Dr. Goel.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ratan Sharma, for giving your views. And what Dr. Sharma says, network is an art, networking is an art as well as science. And he says it has to be done strategically. And it has to, one very, very important point which he says is that networking is you have to give. If you will give to someone, you will get. But this is a very, I think if one have this feeling that if you are doing something selflessly, definitely the interest is that if you are getting good persons, you will learn many things. You are going to, as he has mentioned, he has given his own experience, how he built up institutions because of use of his networking. A very positive thoughts. But only thing is, he also cautioned that networking should be done very cautiously. It should not be done with anybody or everybody. You have to be careful. You have to see that you are not wasting time, because it's a very, very time consuming also. But he is very, very clear that the power of networking is there, and one can very well utilize that power of networking and can grow like anything. Thank you very much, Dr. Ratan Sharma, for giving your views. I'm sure the viewers today who are watching the show, they will come to know the power of the networking, how the networking can develop and can do wonders for persons, even for everyone, not only on business persons, but many others, whether they are in profession or they are doing surveys, or they are even the students, if they have a good networking. Even we have seen a small traders or even the housewives, homemakers, how they have become a success story because of the networking, how they have started doing the creativeness, and that creativeness was because of the networking and the use of social media, they can raise up to a limit. Thank you very much, Dr. Ratan Sharma, for giving your views. I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Miss Georgina Kelly. Miss Kelly is the business coach and joint founding partner of RAK Business Group, Ras Al Khaimah, UAE. Ms. Kelly is a founding partner at Creative Intelligence, a Dubai-based strategic brand and communications specializing in brand identity projects across the Middle East since mid-90s. With a business career spanning over 30 years, Ms. Kelly also helps business owners and teams grow their business by providing bespoke training on sales and customer service. She is a business mentor to those who need help with starting and growing a business, and helps entrepreneurs on business planning, cash flow, projections, and strategic thinking to grow the business and open new markets. She is joint founding partner of RAK Business Group, a business network located in the Northern Emirates with over 700 members and growing. Welcome, Ms. Georgina Kelly, on our show. Ms. Kelly, you have heard what Mr. Vishal Gandhi as well as Dr. Ratan Sharma has given their views. And they are very, very clear that the power is there of the networking. You being yourself a business woman who is not only doing the business, but you are creating so many things, especially the strategic bonding as well as the communications, which is very, very important for any successful networking. Definitely, we would like to hear from you, your views on the power of networking. Miss Georgina Kelly, please. Please unmute. Please unmute, Miss Kelly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goel. And thank you, Dr. Sharma, and thank you, Dr. Agarwal. I'm very humbled to be here today and delighted to have been invited by Dr. Mohan. Networking has been part and parcel of my life ever since, to be honest with you, I started off in business. And yes, I have been in business for over 30 odd years. Started off in London. And the brand Creative Intelligence, I'll just give a little bit of background here. Creative Intelligence is a strategic brand consultancy, which was set up by myself and David Learman in the mid-90s, in 1994, in the financial district of the City of London. So in those days, all our clients would have been involved in the financial services. So we're talking about investment banking, analysts, commodity brokers, Bank of England, etc. And it was quite difficult to break into very much a man's world. Go back to the 90s in London to break into that as someone like me who was responsible for business development. I've always been in business development, and that's my main responsibility as far as the company is concerned. And I realized to reach these men, and we're talking about CEOs, we're talking about board level. So we're not talking about marketing managers here. I was looking at mergers and acquisitions. I was looking at companies repositioning themselves. I was looking at companies rebranding themselves. And I was looking at companies that had serious capitalization behind them, who needed a brand consultancy to do corporate and brand identity work. So it was a niche market, highly specialized. And I realized very early I had to join their clubs. I had to join their networking. I had to find out, where do these guys hang out? And it was 90% of the boards were mainly all guys. And that's when I came across the City of London Chamber of Commerce and various other organizations. And as time went on, and I was able to break that ceiling and find out where these men were, and then started doing business, and we got long-term clients. And we did a lot of mergers and acquisitions and quite a few annual reports and brand identity work. And then I actually created my own little network. And what I started to do then was that I actually invited, once a quarter, I would have, this was a highly specialized group of people I would invite. I would invite one, say, CEO from a bank, one from a financial company, one from a law firm, etc., etc. So there was only one person from a specific sector, but I also started inviting women. And the reason I started inviting the women to the luncheon, because I wanted to get there, I wanted to help them open doors for themselves in that world. And I would also invite the head of a charity. So the head of the charity had a chance to sit among CEOs and obviously make a case for their charity, and hopefully, open some doors that would be useful. And then time went on, and it was through networking that I actually ended up in the Middle East. We decided to relocate our business from London to Dubai in 2002, but we had already started working on projects in 1997 and 1998 in Dubai from London. And these again were corporate and brand identity projects. And this was very much networking that actually took me on that particular journey. Then now I'm in the Middle East now for 20 years. I was in Dubai for 12 years. I now live in Ras Al Khaimah, which is in the Northern Emirates. Again, in Dubai, I joined networks as well to help with the business. And coming from Ireland, one of the first ones I joined was the Irish Business Network. And I created the SME subgroup, because within the IBN at the time, they had hospitality sector, construction sector, various other health sectors, but there was nothing for the SME. And we had just had a global downturn, which affected hundreds of thousands of businesses. And I thought, if I'm facing certain problems as an SME owner here in Dubai, there's got to be many others who are facing the same kind of problems. Let's create an SME subgroup, and let's see if we can help each other through these very, very difficult years. And there was a few years, difficult years that we actually went through. And that actually turned out to be fantastic. And we would have about 40, 50 companies would come every month, every single month, to an evening event where we had a speaker, and we would talk about specific issues that were relevant to us at the time. Time goes on again. I'm now living in Ras Al Khaimah, and I'm looking for a business network in Ras Al Khaimah, and I couldn't find one. There was one, but it was mainly for a group of people from a certain country, and I wasn't from that country, so I couldn't get it. So I decided then, I was having a chat with a few people, and I decided anyway to create a business network in Ras Al Khaimah. And that's how RAC Business Group was actually formed. Now, my business is still the same. I'm still doing corporate and brand identity work. However, something has changed a little bit. What I also do is I also mentor young entrepreneurs, and I mentor SME business owners on strategy, building their companies, and when they hit a brick wall, to help them over it. So that's how I do the business mentoring. And out of that came the idea of designing and delivering, so it's creating and delivering bespoke training programs for people involved in sales and customer service. Nobody teaches anybody how to sell. I was taught decades ago how to sell professionally, and nobody does it here anymore. So that's why I started doing that. And that's how RAC Business Group was actually formed. I wanted to create a group, and there is another lady who is with me. There is a lady called Wendy Stapleton. The group is basically for business people in the Northern Emirates to trade with each other, to share knowledge with each other, to help each other, to mentor each other. And also we're a platform for other organizations if they want to do something with us. But the main primary reason for creating a group was basically to have a network for business people. And we're talking about SMEs as well as large businesses. So we have micro organizations and we have businesses that employ a couple of hundred people. People who are only turning over thousands a year to people who are turning over millions of dollars a year. So it's quite a vast range of people. And we meet every month for a network breakfast. So you have to be up early. We kick off at 7:30 in the morning. We're all done and dusted by about 10 o'clock so people can get on with their day. So that's sort of my journey as far as networking is concerned, from when I started in business to where I am now. I think when you decide the title is The Power of Networking. Is networking powerful? You bet it is. You cannot exist in a world without networking, and we do it as children. In the playground, when we join other young little boys and girls and they are in our group, that is networking. When we then go to secondary school and we have our own little clique and our own little group, that's networking. When you go to college and again, you make lifelong friends, that's networking. And I think what you have to decide is, when it comes to any network organizations that you want to get involved with, you have to decide, what is your goal? What do I want to achieve from this group? Is this a group for me to find a mentor? Am I a young entrepreneur and I need some help? Is this a group where I need to meet specific people from specific sector backgrounds? Then I join a network for that. Is this where I want to join somewhere, a network group, someone who I can learn from? Am I looking to engage with people who maybe I can set up a JV, or I'm looking for investment, or I'm looking for new business relationships? Is this a network where I'm looking for people to come and join my podcast like we are today? That's how I met Dr. Mohan, through a third party who happens to be in the RAC Business Group network. Is this maybe I'm looking to do something completely different? Maybe I'm a single person, or I could be a divorced person, a single person, a young person, an old person. And I want to find out what community groups are in my community where I live. I've just arrived maybe from another country. I'm plunked down here. I know absolutely nobody. I want to see people, maybe people who play netball, people who play basketball, people who play tennis, football, whatever it may be. I might be a mum with young children. I want to meet other mums with young children. I may not meet them at the school gate, but maybe there is a community group online where I can meet people. Maybe I want to donate my time to charity. So what charitable groups are out there? So there's different kind of groups out there for different people. And I don't just belong to RAC Business Group. I belong to other groups in Dubai. I belong to other groups overseas. I belong to community groups. I belong to groups where I mentor people. I donate my time to other organizations and causes. I've recently just come back there's an organization called InJazz, and this happened through networking, where I'm now going to be mentoring students, Emirati students at a college, for about 5-6 months. They have to come up with a business idea and turn it into a business, create a board, etc., whatever. And then there's a competition at the end of it. I recently met a gentleman who invited me to work with him on creating a network for people running businesses with a turnover of millions of dollars. So because to join is going to be about $5,000 to $10,000 a year to join. That's the membership fee. So the point is to meet other people who are turning over businesses with millions of dollars as well, and to hopefully come up with fantastic ideas. So there's horses for courses out there. There are different types of networking that you can actually join, but you need to be very clear as to what is your goal. Then the next thing you have to decide is, what platforms am I going to use? Where am I going to find these groups? Well, we've got Facebook groups, loads of community groups. I'm sure we all live in places where there's lots and lots of community groups on Facebook. Then you've got business groups. You've got your chambers of commerce, LinkedIn, fantastic for young entrepreneurs and older people as well. You've got to bear in mind, people who have decades of experience, we understand a lot of conventional ways of starting a business, running a business, managing a business, strategy, etc., whatever, but we might not know very much about e-commerce. So we need to learn from those who are starting e-commerce business and have experience in e-commerce. We need to understand that world. You can't turn around and say, oh, I'm too old to learn. Never too old to learn. Absolutely never. Go to your local chambers of commerce. Everywhere in the world, we have chambers of commerce. They're fantastic organizations. Knock on the door, find out what groups they have, what business groups they have. They probably have subgroups. They'll have sector-specific groups. Join them and find out what's going on. Look at events and conferences that's actually happening in your local area. Again, knock on the door, find out. Look at the calendar. Usually they'll have a calendar for a year as to what exactly is going on. If you're really and truly absolutely new to networking, just ask your friends. What networks do you belong to? What events do you go to? What groups do you belong to? And see if they will invite you and bring you along to their group. When you get then inside the network, what do you do then? For some people, talking, small talk is very, very easy and simple. I've never had a problem with small talk. In fact, at school, often on my report card, the teacher said she talks too much. So, but some people have the opposite problem. Absolutely opposite. They're shy, they're reticent, they're unsure of themselves, they're out of their comfort zone, they don't know what to do. I'm happy to go up to a stranger, shake their hand if it's a culture where they will shake my hand. If it's not, I'm happy not to do that too, and just introduce myself and say, my name is Georgina Kelly, I'm from so-and-so, I'm here to learn, or I'm here to meet people like you, or I don't know a single person in this room. How about we start a conversation with each other? It's as simple as that. And most people will break the ice with you, but you just need to take your time. And sometimes you meet people who've got nothing to do with your interests, nothing to do with what you're in business, but they are interesting people. And they may well become a friend for life, a lifelong friend. And they may well open doors to other adventures and other associations that have got nothing to do with business, but somehow or another, it's fortunate for both of you. You just never know what's going to happen. And sometimes magic can happen without you even realizing it, but you have to make the effort. You need to tell people, what do you do? You need to talk to people about your hobbies. The worst thing you can do is when you first join, especially a business network group, is to start selling yourself and what your business is all about. Because people need time to get to know you and you, not your business. And it's not rocket science that people buy people. You could have 100 people in the same room, all selling computers or software or hardware. But it's the difference in the personality of the person who's explaining what they do and how they do it and how they put themselves over that makes you buy from product A rather than buy from product B. but yet they still do the same thing. So really tell people a little bit about you. And that's what I tell people at the events that we host. Don't just give out your business card. Give something of yourself first. Yeah, little bits of information, something that's unusual. With our RAC business group, I ask everybody to stand up and introduce themselves. So they have 2 minutes. Stand up. What's your name? Where are you from? Why are you here? Not what do you do? Why are you here? And some people say, I don't know what to say. I say, well, just say, I don't know what to say. And maybe somebody from the floor might ask you a question. Answer the questions then instead, if you're a little bit nervous. I've seen people who were extremely shy, who wouldn't say boo to a goose when they first came along, and they knew they had to stand up for 2 minutes, and maybe they lasted 30 seconds. That's fine, because there'll always be somebody who would talk forever. So, and now they're very fluent in their communication and what they say and how they say it. So it's also a way of learning new skills. It's also a way of building confidence. It's a way of also explaining who you are. And it gives you time to think about, well, who am I? What am I? It's not what I do. We're not defined by what we do. We're defined by who we are. Then the other thing that you have to sort of think about when you join a network is don't forget to let people know that you're here to help them too. I always say to people, always say to somebody, look, is there anything I can do for you? Is there anyone I can introduce you to? Is there anything that you need help with? Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can't. But if I can, I will. Get involved in discussions. With our group, we kicked off with a Facebook group. Very, very simple. You basically answered a few questions, you came in, you joined. You had to be a business owner, you have to be a business owner or a general manager or C-level exec. Reason being, and you must have a trade license, because obviously where we are, you have to be legit, okay? So the reason we wanted people who were either C-level execs, company owners, or GMs is that this is a business group. It's to trade with each other. Let's not forget that, okay? It is to help each other, but it is to trade with each other. So if you're looking for a product or service, who within the group has it that you can buy from? And this was created just before COVID. So this was really needed during COVID, trust me, when a lot of little businesses particularly were really hurting. I mean, COVID affected all of us, especially in 2020. Most of us didn't even raise an invoice after March 2020 until the spring of 21. Many of us did not even raise an invoice. We sold nothing. Yet we had to keep our businesses going and try and keep people, if we could possibly, hang on to them. Forgot what I was saying there. Okay, yes, get involved in the discussion. So we had our Facebook group, then we created a WhatsApp group at the same time. And that's a lifeline because that's immediate. This is where people really do get to know you. You can introduce yourself on Facebook, you become a member, you can go to the business groups, the breakfast. But on the WhatsApp group, this is where people really see you. This is where you introduce yourself. This is where you help others. This is where you can trade with each other instantly. It's absolutely immediate. The other night we had somebody, he's just setting up a business here. He's from Lebanon. He's moved his manufacturing from Lebanon to Ras Al Khaimah. Well, in fact, he's in Ajman, but he's living in Iraq. And he's got his equipment from there to here. He was looking for people who can install AC. He was looking, well, first of all, he was looking for a warehouse. And he needed X number of thousands square meters. Then he was looking then for installation. Then he was looking for IT. Then he was looking for AC. And all these people he found through the group. Then he wanted to get somebody from Syria to here as quickly as possible. We have a travel agent. It was done in 1 hour. That is the power of networking in a business group like that. But again, those people wouldn't be together if they didn't meet each other and if they weren't communicating all the time online. So participate in conversations. Don't stay in the background. Because if you stay in the background and just become an observer, you lose out on so much. Absolutely. And it's a waste of time. You may as well not be there, quite frankly. I would say to people, if you just want, if people say to me, oh, I just want to join to be an observer, I say, well, then we don't want you. I'm very upfront. We don't want you because we want people who are going to be participating. There are other network groups for you to do that, and you'll be very happy, but not this one, you know? And offer your expertise by helping others. Business isn't always about money. Life is not always about making money. Sometimes you can offer your expertise. Maybe somebody can't actually afford to pay you. Let's say you have a serious legal issue. You need the advice of a lawyer. Just right now, you can't afford that lawyer because he's going to charge you a couple of $1,000s. Well, you know what? Would it hurt you just to give them some advice to get them going? Possibly not. So this is the kind of thing you can do. I think then you also have to maintain relationships. Meet people afterwards. Just because you join a networking group and maybe you meet them, say, at a breakfast once a month, or you go to something in the evening, you have their business card. Call them up, have a cup of coffee, really get to know them. I try to meet as many people as I possibly can because I want to know what makes them tick, because I buy people. When I'm looking for a product or service or whatever it may be, I look at the people behind the business. If my judgment is saying I can trust them, I believe what they say, I believe they've got integrity, they say what they mean and they mean what they say, and that's the kind of person I want to do business with, or that's the kind of person I want to communicate with, or that's the kind of organization I want to be involved with. So do meet people, have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea. It might only be for 30 minutes, but that 30 minutes could change your absolute life, you know? And call people now and again, check in on them, even though, say, you know, you might not meet very often. Somebody rang me the other day and I hadn't heard from them in about 3 or 4 years. And it was wonderful. And they said, look, I'm just calling you just to make sure you're doing okay. And I said, thanks so much, I am. And they said, look, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch, but, you know, because of COVID and all the rest of it, I'd just like us to check in and see, you know, you're doing okay. Make a note when you join a group and you take a number of business cards, create a little diary for yourself. You can do it on Excel, whatever. Make a little note of people that you met, people that could be of interest to you, people that may be of help. If you're new in business and you met somebody who's much older, go up to them and say, look, I really need to learn. I need to learn about business. Can you help me? What should I do? What advice, you know, can you give me? Is there any specific things that's happened in your business career? Maybe mistakes you've made, maybe things you've learned. Is there something that you can advise me on so that I don't make the same mistakes? A lot of people are very prepared to give you their time and take you under their wing, you know. Again, because we know when people sort of are genuine or not. Develop relationships, and that takes time. That takes meeting people over and over and over again. So what I would say, I don't know how much time I have, but I saw you looking at your.
Please.
Okay, all right. Look, I'll
continue.
sum it up. I'll sum it up. With business networking, make a list of the groups, community groups, networking groups, whatever. Make a list in your local area, what is out there and what may be of use to you. Define your goal from the outset. Before you join, think, why am I joining this? What do I hope to achieve? What's my aims and objectives? And so then you can decide whether or not this is going to be the one for you. Heck, turn up anyway. And even if they don't meet your aims and objectives, say, okay, I'll cross that one off the list because that's not going to be right. Ask your friends and colleagues what groups they belong to and see if they will bring you along, invite you. Most networking groups, you can bring a guest or what have you. Introduce yourself. Give a piece of information that nobody knows about yourself. Don't just hand a business card, and please just don't collect business cards and do nothing with them. Check in on people every so often that you've met. once a week, once a month, once a quarter, whatever it may be. Get involved in discussions. Get involved in discussions, get involved in helping people, get involved in putting yourself forward to help. Maybe there's an event coming up, maybe a charity run. Maybe you might think, okay, we have, say we have Diwali now. So there's probably a lot of events going on. There's a lot of charitable things going on. Maybe you've got an idea, maybe to raise funds for a charity, a much needed organization. Maintain your relationships with emails, phone calls, etc., what have you. And most important of all is have fun. Life is for living. All right. I will do nothing in life if I don't enjoy it. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Wild horses won't get me to the biggest network in the world if I don't enjoy it. So you have to enjoy it and have fun. And they're my ideas on networking.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly. You have given the full description and full details how the networking starts, how the networking one can become a part and parcel of the networking, how to learn the networking, advantages of the networking. You have given all the details. I will just say one thing because of the paucity of time, that how Ms. Kelly has described that how she has broken the men's world by inviting the head of the charity, the women of the area, as well as the head of the institutions, so the CEOs, etc. So, and she has given all things. I'm sure that today this is something which has given the entire perspectives about the networking. Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my last but not the least panelist, and he is Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal is the former professor of marketing, innovation and management, IIM Lucknow, XLRI Jamshedpur, and California State University, USA. He is the president of Indo-Gulf Management Association. He is a US Fulbright Fellow, Boston, EFMD Fellow, Paris, and British Council Fellow, London. In 2019, he was ranked among the 251 most fabulous global education leaders. Welcome, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal on our show. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, you have heard all our earlier panelists. Without going in details, I would like to know your views on the power of networking. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. I think this is one of the wonderful occasions where I had the VIP seat to listen to the masters of the game, beginning with my idol, that is Dr. Sharma. Believe me, I was a very young man when he was such a fantastic, multifaceted, multi-skilled person. And I used to just listen to him in rapt attention. Even in the middle of the night, used to walk around and talk. Like Dr. Sharma, that was something which I would never forget. It was a formative years for me also in the league where he is a master of that. I'm also grateful to Georgina, because I have been in touch with her for the last 1 month, and this is the first time I'm seeing her. So far we have only been talking on phone, and she's a very busy person. She doesn't feel to be busy. She is busy, and therefore it is not that impressing or anything. And I can see the reason why she's busy. I would like to say only one thing, and I would like to say this because most important things have already been spoken by my earlier speakers, and therefore it is not good that I should repeat them. I should say something probably, as Dr. Sharma beautifully said, add value to that particular conversation. Otherwise, it will be repetition of that. And I'm reminded of the guru of marketing, global guru of marketing, and his name is Mr. or Professor Philip Kotler. He is probably the most well-known professor in marketing and still active. And he said one thing very beautifully. He said, in a tongue-in-cheek way, he said that the best way to kill a bad product is to advertise heavily. He said that this is the surest way to kill a bad product, when you advertise heavily and when perhaps more people will come to know how bad you are than perhaps, keeping silent. I think this is the lesson in networking. In networking, you must do networking, but first develop yourself, your own competencies, your own credibility, your own communication ability. These three C's I will put above anything else. That your core competence, your credibility, and your communication. Do not promise if you cannot do it. But if you have promised, try to fulfill that particular promise, because this is not what people like. Second, you must have something to the table which people can relate to, which they can say that this is the person, I can learn this from this person. And the third is that you must have the ability to articulate your inner thoughts in a way that makes sense and possibly the quickest sense. So these three things, according to me, are very, very important before you build. Some people have a very bad view of networking. They think as if it is a broker, as if it is something that you have nothing else to do and you are just bringing. I think the best way is what Dr. Ratan Sharma and my friend, and of course, Kelly beautifully said, Georgina beautifully said, connection. So when you connect people, please remember the Hollywood movie, which taught me a lot, and that was Pay It Forward. Pay it forward. Put into the investment or put it as an investment. Do something for others with a new and very, very clear way of thinking that this person may not help me back, but this person will help someone else. So do not have exchange value in mind. Have pay it forward policy in mind. That someone helped me, which I couldn't help that person back. Now I'm helping this person, and it is possible this person may not help me now, but he will help someone else, and the chain of goodness will continue. So for me, networking is paid forward. The next important thing which I would like to say in the case of networking is very, very important. I think Georgina said, and I was listening to her with rapt attention, and I wish she had more time today to speak the way she was talking beautifully. Something that she said very, very beautifully. Please connect with the people on the medium they prefer, not the medium that you prefer. So there are certain people who prefer email rather than WhatsApp. There are people who prefer WhatsApp rather than something else. Please talk to them on the medium they are comfortable with. Don't try to make them change to the medium that you know. So this is another very important thing. If they like something writing, try to do something in writing. Or maybe something because they want more articulation. They want more time to think. There are many people who do not these days like phone calls. They like WhatsApp messages. Why? Because it gives them convenience to think about it. Convenience to say something later on for sure, whether they will be able to do it or not. While in the case of the phone, it is possible that you might get a no because the person is unable to decide at that particular moment. But WhatsApp can give the ability that think, reflect, then answer. So this is another thing that I would like to say. The last thing which I would like to say, and I know I don't want to say more because very, very important thing is, in my opinion, that understand your networking style. Every style of networking doesn't suit everyone, and one shouldn't follow the other person's style if it is not your style. That particular style should not be imposed. That particular style should not be copied. It should be evolved over a period of time where you are comfortable. Because if you're not having fun, as beautifully Kelly said, or if you're not enjoying it, the things that you are doing, then how can the other person enjoy? Because you yourself are not enjoying it. So this is the thing that I would like to say. Final thing that I would like to say is that networking doesn't work at all if there is no commitment delivery. Commitment delivery is the most important thing. Don't promise, as I am saying right from the beginning. and people will take your no as a good answer. But people will not take, saying something and then not following. So my apologies, Mr. Goel. I would like to stop here and listen again to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And because of the paucity of time,
No,
so
I
today,
understand.
today we are not going to have any question answer session. So viewers, you have seen the experts, they have given their views about the power of networking, and they are very, very clear that the networking can build a business in a very, very big way, very big corporation, if your networking is a selfless not networking. Although there is a always an idea, because as our panelist says, that you have to choose that who is going to be worth for you. But many times they also mentioned that you have to do the networking even with those who are not worth for you a particular time for a particular business, but they might be worth for you next time for any other business or any other activity. So the power of networking is too much. Only thing is, my caution is, please don't misuse it. What we are seeing today nowadays, people are misusing, and especially the young generation, the students, misusing the networking power, and they are involving themselves with some illegal activities through the networking, which is not correct. Otherwise, if you use the judiciously the networking is something which is going to play a very miracle in your life. Thank you very much, and thank you all of the participants. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Saroka News, Bharat Post News, as well as was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you everyday new topic. And tomorrow in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 am, the topic is price rise, the way forward. And our panelists are Dr. M. Narendra, former chairman and managing director, Indian Overseas Bank, Mumbai; Dr. Santosh Kumar Patnaik, former managing director, Indian Railways Finance Corporation, New Delhi; Ms. Vinita Hariharan, national level public policy expert, chief of programs, Ministry of MSME, Government of India. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 am. Thank you very much, Dr. Ratan Sharma. Thank you very much, Ms. Georgina Kelly. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. And thank you very much, Mr. Vishal Gandhi. And thank you all the viewers. I'm sure today's program is very enlightening. So please go good